Welcome into WagerTalk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Kevin Dolan and Brian Leonard of WagerTalk.com. We are talking an SEC West rivalry here, Brian. We got the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Heck, in past years, probably more of a rivalry, but heck, with a 4-touchdown spread, it's as much of a rivalry as we're going to get here, Brian. Alabama laying 28.5 at home, 66 the total in Tuscaloosa. You liking anything with the Tigers and Crimson Tide on Saturday, Brian?
Yeah, if I take a look at this game, I mean it's Alabama or nothing for me. You've got an LSU team that's fallen apart. They've been a major disappointment. Coach is gone. It's just so much going on down there in the Bayou. And coming off of that game last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, against Mississippi, losing that game 31-17. You've got to go back all the way to the third week of the season to have a game in which LSU had more first downs than the opposition. That was against Central Michigan. So they have not played well in league action at all. Just in first downs, Mississippi State -14, Auburn -5, Kentucky -2, Florida -5, Ole Miss -5. They have to have the big plays in order to be successful. From a yardage standpoint, they've been outgained in every game against a major conference team. UCLA -97, Mississippi State 143, Auburn 79, Kentucky 67, Florida 34, Ole Miss last week 144. This is just a team right now from an offensive standpoint. I just can't trust LSU against this team. And Alabama's defense, maybe it's not where it was in the past, but it's still a very good defense here. Last time they played against Tennessee, they allowed 6.4 yards per play. Texas A&M 6.5. So it's not your normal Alabama defense, but the offense is starting to come around a little bit. 7.9 yards per play against Mississippi State, 6.4 against Tennessee. They had 10.3 earlier against a weak Southern Miss team. So Alabama, people are writing off Alabama at this point. They're not including them in the top 2 or 3. And to me, other than Georgia, who is clearly the best team, you've got to go with Alabama to be right there. I mean, the coaching staff's been there before. They got great coaches. They continue to lose offensive coordinators to other teams each and every year. They come out and play well. They recruit well. You got an Alabama team coming off a bye. And it would be better if Alabama didn't play so well against Tennessee. They win that game 52-24. But you got an extra week to prepare here. Both teams got an extra week to prepare. But I trust the Alabama coaching staff much more than I do LSU here. LSU is a team that just is not played well, and nothing is going on well there. You can't really expect them to do well here against Alabama. I'm a fan of Alabama. What can I say? I do want to point out that in the first period this year, LSU has only allowed 20 points all season long in the first quarter. So if you're looking to play Alabama, it gets off to a slow start. Maybe you come in, do a little live betting on Alabama after the first quarter, and maybe we can get a better line here, keep it down a little bit below 28 here. So Alabama's the way I'm looking, but I'm looking at it more of an in-game situation.
Sure, I like that look, Brian. And Kevin, coming to you next, to Brian's point, 28 in the hook, that's a pretty high number. Alabama well deserving of that, though, especially with LSU's, I guess, kind of quote-unquote issues this season, coaching, on the field play, the whole bit, having to go on the road here, tough environment. What are you liking here with the Tigers and Crimson Tide?
Yeah, it is a high number, Drew, for sure, but I agree with Brian. The only way I could look on this one is taking the Tide here minus the point. Bar that one blip on the season so far against Texas A&M a few weeks ago, which, I think we called it on that show as a potential, flat spot for Alabama. Thought A&M might do damage there. Bar that, it's just been an absolute domination station for Alabama. Beyond that single result, 30-point blowout in Miami in week 1, 50 points against Southern Miss, 40 points against Mississippi State. The Tide have a ridiculous record at home too under Nick Saban, something like 93-8 in Bryant-Denny Stadium since he's taken charge. They've won 9 of the last 10 against LSU also, including last season's 55-17 blowout on the road inside Baton Rouge. So I actually think, if you're taking this game, you have to see that the value is potentially on the big favourite here. Alabama are tied for number one in the nation right now on score and offense at home this season. They've put up 52.3 points per game inside the home stadium. They're putting up over 540 yards of offense at home this season. They hung 650 yards of offense in that blowout win over LSU last season also. And, they boast the most offensive touchdowns per game this year, well, at 6.7. So, all in all, this team is an absolute wrecking machine right now. And, I certainly couldn't stand in front of them in this spot, especially taking a 98th ranked LSU defense, giving up 6.6 yards per play on the road this season. The final factor in this game for me, as Brian mentioned, is the bye. If we go back to last season, the Tide had 3 weeks off after their initial game against LSU was postponed. And they ended up coming out of that bye on November 24th and absolutely blowing the doors off a top 20 ranked team in Kentucky by a 63-3 scoreline in that game. So it's got to be Alabama for me in this one on Saturday. I see this as possible steamrolling LSU for a second consecutive year.
Sure, laying the wood with the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. For Kevin Dolan, Brian Leonard, I am Drew Martin. Guys, remember to check out WagerTalk.com. Tuesdays, great day to do so. Top handicappers, top play, discounted to just $2. $2 Tuesday, WagerTalk.com.